Hey everyone, my name is Flicker, and tonight I'm going to be, well, wandering through the new art at the Strange Pear Art Gallery. I was in a public instance previously, but I didn't have the energy to pull through on actually socially interacting, so I was just kind of hanging around. It was nice, but meh, I want to do more than just hang around, so I switched over to this. What in the fuck? Mana flow. Damn. Interesting. Oh, tragedy. Plasmoid man. Why do I feel like that's something someone hallucinates? Gehenna. Echoes of old. Dragging the color out of all the modern stuff so that way the older buildings stand out more. Yeah. Oh. Honestly, great work. Glass panes. Ooh. Ah, the timing on that must have been nice. Sleep time solicitor. My first thought here was just like, appears in the dead of night when you're stuck awake. Hello there. How may I assist you? Oh, good evening, and welcome to our world. May I make your acquaintance? Ah. Yeah, no, it does feel like people's souls are getting stretched out across the landscape of time further and further and further without the chance to rest. It's never fun. It's never fun. Oh. Aw, cute photo, friend. Wild sick. Oh, that's actually an interesting concept. So deeply immersed in the law of the wild that you're practically sick and stuck with it, rooted to the spot and unable to behave like a civilized person. What does what do these say? Hmm. Foul queen. Neat. Now that's just cute. Like, sure, it's aliens and a person. But the quilted fabric gives it a nice softness. I don't know if I'm saying the right words when it comes to like fabric detail or type. Yeah. Holy shit. And that looks like the end of the world on like a local scale. Oh. Aww. Yeah. What makes this interesting is not necessarily the photo itself, but rather the title that goes along with it. The title itself adds more meaning to the photo in its own charming way. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Peering around new horizons. Peering around new horizons. Distant views. Hmm. Oh, fucking the editing on this makes it look like it was painted to life. Oh, how much blur how much of the blur tool did they use? It looks stunning. Love it. Damn. Wow. Oh. Oh. Aww. So long as they don't bite. Lovely critter. Ooh, nice. I haven't tried drawing many animals or people outside of like pose ideas. So my anatomy still needs a lot of work. But you got this down pretty good. Hmm. Feather Maiden. Interesting. The pose looks like an alert, possibly happy one. And the skull adds to the creepy aesthetic, but it also gives the impression of a fake smile. It makes it look a little bit goofy and dorky. It's neat. Immortal March. Eh. Night God. Bad programming. Yeah, that wouldn't be too surprising. Hmm. Being able to use contrasting colors this well as lighting and environmental detail, well done. Just a second more. Whoa. Beautiful. There's emotional sentiment buried in like each of these. And I'm not just talking about like the basic posing and anatomy work, but the choice of facial structure, positioning, lighting. The kind of metaphors you can embed in an action. To pierce your hand on one to pierce your hand on one of the hands of time, trying to slow it even if but for just a second more. Falling frame. Reference point that might just be falling away. A perspective that's both fitting yet also still out of place. Oh, the little creature. Cute. Wish I knew how to float real good. Whoa, what the hell? Fleeting memory? Still taking in the details and processing this. Stunning. Beautiful. How much work did it take you to pull off getting the anatomy to show up? With galaxies, the night sky is the skin. Let alone being able to fade it into the skin somewhat. Oh, it's beautiful. I already said that, damn it. Beautiful, stunning, soft and sweet. I hope her nap is one that she's able to enjoy, regardless of if it is permanent or temporary. Cute. Oh. Oh. Beautiful. I think that helped me understand hair structure a little bit more. Eruption. Neat. Eternal ascension. Interesting. Oh, cute. Let the Honorable. Now that's a title. Interesting. Is that a title that is true to its sentiment, or is that a title in parallel to its position of power? Could be a little bit of each, but the balanced imbalance of which sections are which is really what creates the dynamic contrast in the idea. Meanwhile, the art definitely gives a sense of authority and confidence. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is guaranteed the strongest person or the strongest character in that fictional world. Hmm. Hinge 404. This is an interesting perspective. Let's see what they've got to say. A human soul is not a magical floating orb that does or does not exist. It is not some imaginary measure of good or bad that some unknowable deity weighs on a scale to determine morality. A human soul is a measure of its own expenditure. Our lives and our loves are colored by how we spend our time, how we spread our love, upon who we grace our care. A person's ministrations on a canvas, picture tablet, etc. is a glimpse into where our lives are focused, what we care about. A fascinating mirage into the scorch marks the kiln of our lives has left. Please enjoy a glimpse into mine. Also, the Prime Minister of Australia shit himself in a McDonald's in 1997. Fucking nice. Keeping the meme real. Fucking, wasn't there a governor that also just disappeared one day and no one was able to ever find them again? Oh. Oh, Damocles. Oh. Reminding me of a song I wanna listen to. It feels like this is more inspired by Sleep Token or closer to metal band culture than it is the reference point I'm remembering. Bug, be gone. I appreciate you wanting to hang around, but you're a bit annoyingly distracting. Alright, loop. Open your eyes, dear Damocles. Envy. I really like how it's portraying envy as not one person themselves being special, but more like this phantom image of specialness being projected around them just because they have what you want. As if it's something that could be consumed and kept for yourself by taking from another, when no, that is just falling into a fallacy. You can nurture these things for yourself, not through neglect, but through effort, self-care, practice, learning, humility, and insight. Intuition is often a gift. Nice to see this one again. Is their other legs stuck in the water? Or are they crouched with both knees up? Oh, jeez. Talk about uncomfortable. Great way to convey agony. It's just a dissonating discomfort that leaves you feeling distorted. Oh, that's beautiful. Not necessarily optimistic, but beautiful rendition of it. To have some of it drawn on the board and some of it drawn on the tape. Picture told in two parts by two different surfaces, but when pulled apart into their distinct categories, the whole image is lost, each only holding a fragment of what they knew. Oh, you put on my coat, you stared at the mirror on the wall, then with a giggle you said it doesn't suit you at all. So what if these dreams, they make me a fool? Existence always pays off in a decade or two. Mirror, mirror, show me someone new. Ooh. Hmm. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I would not have pulled that connection if it were not for the title of the work. Sometimes context is hidden not on the page itself, but in what each page is titled. 13. Different yet the same. Each to their own. Now this one I'm not sure how to make sense of it. Unyielding. Are they in a cowl holding their hand up in front of their face while using magic? Or is it something else? Hard to tell. I mean, if you flip the image upside down and looked at it, you could say it's someone reaching for and imbuing life into their own shadow, accepting it as part of themselves for once, instead of leaving it drowning in a pit. But hey, that's just my brain filling the gaps for my own associations. Don't need to go projecting too hard onto my experiences too hard onto other people. What if these dreams have died reaching out to are light years away from this reality we knew? Mirror, mirror, to die living proof. Ooh. Now I found it my daily swim of virtue. In spite of everything, you're still here. It's still you, not anyone else. You can do it. You can bloom. I believe in you, genuinely. Influence. Mere body floating in the void, while other gigantic hands reach out to grab it. Or are we looking at a creature made of black, with stripes of white and pink along its sides, eyes of yellow, and a mouth dripping? Mouth dripping with hunger for purity. Hard to say. Neat. Ludic fallacy. Every possible path I pursue. Ludic fallacy. I'm gonna go search up the word ludic, because I don't actually know what it means. So what if failures today make me a fool? Persistence always pays off in a decade or two. Mirror, mirror, show me someone new. Ludic. Is the misuse of games to model real-life situation. Basing studies of chance on the narrow world of games and dice. Huh. Of applying naive and simplified statistical models in complex domains. So their argument is that at certain scales, mathematical models fail to actively attribute and consider everything because they cannot be created beyond the scale that they were made in. You can study ecosystems and territories and forests and wilderness, economic structures or social dynamics for years, but you'll still live within those things. You'll still be subject to them, even if you're able to predict parts of them. From being within, you cannot see the whole, but from being able to see the whole, you cannot be within. To do so is to try and stretch yourself across scales, with one anchored to interact with the internal and one anchored to interact with the external. That's like that's like trying to stretch yourself across who knows how many territories and concepts that make up reality. To take your human form and stretch it beyond what it's meant to be. Interesting. I should consider that more. They had trouble drawing the middle finger, I feel. They got the angle of the ring finger at the same angle as the pinky. Foreshortening is one, and perspective work is one hell of a struggle. Because I'm trying to recreate this pose with my own hand. And they got the pinky right. They got the index finger right, and the thumb isn't all that too bad either. Palm structure and all of that. But the middle finger is failing to convey its depth in a foreshortened method. Either that or they have a really long middle finger for their natural hand, in which case, damn, that's neat. Moral absence. Just because you remove yourself from something doesn't mean that it doesn't still exist. It just means that you are no longer within it. Hey, what if I say that I will never want to be you? It's not gonna keep me from acrylic on canvas. Who knows? It's very pretty though. Wonder what context they're using those two letters in whatever word it shows up as in other languages. New. Me. You. New. Brain's going down tangents. Very interesting and silly tangents. Open your eyes, dear Damocles. Tell me what's tied to my ceiling. I've got everything, 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 everything. I've got plenty, plenty of the good, plenty, plenty, plenty of the worst. It seems splendid. Alright, with each great power comes a great terror. That is what they say they want us to believe. In these dreams I tried reaching out to. The shading and detail work on these isn't super present. But I do like the shade. I do like the color and oh, has a sense of simplicity to it that isn't necessarily anchored to being a kid, but rather just a cute perspective of things being very simplified while still retaining core traits and details. Interesting. It feels like a level of communication, or in a communication style that you don't see too often. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and it's certainly not like massively appealing in the traditional sense, like the rest of this world is, or like some of the artwork here is. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's any less valuable. It just doesn't go for the same depth of fidelity to get the point across. And that's okay. Not sure what to think of it. Because I want to balance out fidelity and simplicity in presentation, where the details are there if you look for them. But if you're not looking for them, you might not notice them. Then with a giggle you said it doesn't suit you at all. Coalescence. I miss this one. Show me someone new. Ooh. I remember once having a conversation with someone about Parasol and how they go for the aesthetics of the art rather than the actual message and details that give life to the art. And I feel like that's deeply projected here onto the very symbol of this place, the strange pear itself. It looks up while crying tears of joy, despite looking like it's going through pain. Like this is something glorious to be witnessed. And sometimes life is just horrible. Not sure how to think about that. They've definitely grown a great community here. No doubts about that. And that in of itself is an achievement. I'm still learning how to grow a community for myself. How to be without sacrificing too much. There are many things left to learn in this world. Because if you don't save anything for yourself, then how are you going to have the resources necessary to heal? If you don't pour into your own cup, how are you going to nourish in your empty one? Sure, you can give and give and give endlessly to get attention, praise, validation, and respect from others, but at some point you need to give to yourself. Not just by levels of politeness or boundaries, but by learning to be there with yourself. Honestly, I think it's something I still struggle with, sitting here with myself. So that hit an emotional nail on the head. Holy shit, tears in the eyes. Oh, I'm not really sure what it is that makes it difficult for me to sit with myself. Maybe it's the world around me, but that sounds like an excuse. Is it the things I've been through? No, that sounds like another excuse. Both are definitely influences, but they're not the core of it. And even if I were to get to a logical conclusion on this sentiment, on this path of thinking, will it be a course of action I actually pursue? Because it's the actions that create impacts. and it's the impacts that matter. Without action, there can be no impact. The absence of impact is, in the most hollow sense of things, also an impact of its own. Do you leave a trace of, do you draw a line on the ground and let it know and leave it behind for others to realize that someone drew that? Or do you leave the ground alone and let them never know of your existence? Be it in a park, along the sand of a beach, or otherwise. There's always a lot more to learn from. It's one of the reasons why I'm so scared to try and take a step forward. Like that one video said. That one video. Alright, where is it? Yeah, here. Here it is. Sometimes the pain can make you forget that it follows you. Pain follows you. Sometimes you need to sit with it. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but it's working, and the result is a beautiful mess. I've got everything, 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 everything. I've got plenty, plenty of the good, plenty, plenty, plenty of the worst. If you just sit still, the pain will always be there. It's why healing's taken me so long. Letting go has taken me so long. Because I've been sitting with it. Maybe I haven't been moving forward as much as I should. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean to get too contemplative there. I apologize. To those of you who snuck by and saw a fragment of this recording, thank you. To those of you who stuck around and watched a good chunk through, I deeply appreciate it. I hope you all have a good day, good night, whatever time or non-time it is. And if it isn't good, you're feeling stuck, alone, scared, lost, hurt, small, frustrated, or otherwise, well, I hope that things either improve for you, that the chaos, both outside and within, stays manageable enough, and that you're able to find a ledge to sit, rest, and vent from without hurting yourself or others, if the chaos is not staying manageable. That you're able to leave that rest to sit with you instead of immediately spending it. Let it soak into the foundation of your own self instead of trying to rub away the substance once more. My name is Flicker. I visited the strange pair and given my thoughts and opinions on what was presented. I'll be seeing you all later in the next video or something. Bye bye!